Are you still in there, Sean? By chance, can you hear me, Mr. Hill? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Is it coming through too loud, or is it sounding right?
It's actually really good.
Okay, I will leave it there then.
How's my sound?
Sounds great.
Good. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. How are you, sir? Good. How are you?
lot of passing in front of
Which
the
is
net.
good, you know, I mean, to share it and pass
They're
it.
practicing passing.
Yeah, spread it out.
Like you said, that's a good game to get kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just saw Mandy Carson's freshman volleyball won tonight against Freeland.
Yeah.
Oh, one against Freeland.
Yeah,
That's even a bonus.
that's true.
Some schools are just always
Did you
good.
start playing?
Yeah.
Some schools, yeah.
Nope. He's done, huh? And
Just
all
back
three teams
in.
beat New Bell last week.
Ready?
That was fun.
We're on now, yeah.
Okay. Oh, my glasses are fogging already. That's awesome. All right, we ready? Oh, not quite. Got a minute. We have, ready for pledge as well.
Yep, I think Mr. Valley will have the flag come up for us here.
Do you have the ability to unmute us at the time?
It's already done.
He did, yep.
All right, none of us.
No,
Oh, yeah,
we're
we're
muted.
conference room.
We're muted.
We're in conference room. That's not gonna work. How do people wear glasses with these masks?
I know.
You stick them over the top.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah, and then since you're readers anyways, you just kind of slide them down a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, we're set.
All right, 7:00. We ready?
Yep.
Well, welcome to the September version of the Bullock Creek School Board. We'll start our meeting as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You guys are way ahead of me. So we'll call the meeting to order at 7:01. Any additions, corrections, or deletions to the agenda, Mr. Hale?
No changes.
And public comments. Before we start the public comments, I'm actually going to review something just because we had so many questions last month on, questions and answers and, things we were doing and weren't doing. I just thought it'd be good as a reminder for the board as well, because I actually had questions from the board too, and kind of what our role is as a board member and what the Bullock Creek School Board does. So I may have to take the mask off so I can see.
Your space.
But I'll put my glasses on so they don't fog up. So again, the biggest thing, and I could do this without reading, but I just want to make sure we get everything. Because as a school board, we really have one employee. Our one employee is Mr. Hale as a superintendent. But I'll go through the highlights. This is actually from the MASB as kind of some highlights of what our goals and what our duties are. So the first thing is the vision, creating a shared vision, which honestly we just did about 2 years ago now. Oh my goodness, almost a year and a half. Structure, establishing a structure to achieve the vision. Well, obviously we employ a superintendent and establish a district management system which enables all people to contribute meaningfully to achieve the vision. And we establish district processes to do that. Accountability, developing accountability to measure and communicate how well the vision is being accomplished. Receiving reports on student progress, evaluating superintendent and board performance, evaluating progress toward achievements towards the district goals, and periodically reporting district progress to the community and parents. Advocacy, championing the vision, which we just set. So the board advocates for children and families and establishes strong relationships with parents and other mentors to help support students. We are in charge of policy making, which we obviously do. We approve those every year, and the policy should spell out how the district will operate. A highlight here that they highlighted was boards do not carry out a policy. The responsibility for implementing policy is delegated to the superintendent. We just set the policy. Designating the chief executive officer or the superintendent. So we're responsible for recruiting, hiring, and evaluating the superintendent. Planning, goal setting, and evaluation. Financial resources. In other words, we approve and adopt the budget. Instruction, the board working with the superintendent staff must set clear expectations or standards, adopt policies based on instructional programs. School facilities, the board is responsible for determining school housing needs and communicating those needs to the community, purchasing, disposing, or leasing school sites. Communication with various constituencies, school staff, students, members of the community. Advocacy, which is a big one for us. Being board members, we both individually and collectively need to serve as advocates for our students, establishing bylaws, which we also do, election of officers, procedures for the board, reviewing and evaluating board operations and performances, and establishing and maintaining effective board superintendent relations. And in general, some of the general activities include establishing procedures for the operation of the board, electing officers, establishing attendance zones for school district, retaining an attorney or law firm for the school district, setting strategy, coordinating litigation decisions, establishing and maintaining effective board superintendent relations, and periodically reviewing and evaluating board operations and performance. So all in all, I mean, it's an overarching policy-making, budget setting, big picture stuff. And that's where I think some of the questions, not that we didn't want to answer the questions that were out there last month, excuse me, but I think it was questions that should have been directed towards staff, not the school board. And I think that's where we can get into the mud a little bit. And I think that hopefully that clarified some of those questions. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Hill?
Well, and I would just say that, last month, the process did work in that we were able to record those questions and then follow up with a response to those questions and post those on our website.
Perfect. Yep. And I think honestly, our standard has always been for public comment, allowing public comment. Sometimes we are able to respond. Sometimes we want to take that back and think through it and respond at a later date. And that's kind of what we did last month. So any other questions, comments from the board? Okay. Well, we'll move on to public comments then, as we always do. This is a good time for, I'm going to put this back on and take the glasses off. Good time for public to be able to speak. Remember to take your microphone off of mute. We'll give a few minutes for this. Any public comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to mission moment.
Okay. Excellent. Actually, the vision that you talked about was a good segue here. One of the things within our actual mission and part of our vision as well is to provide a sense of belonging in a positive and safe environment that supports excellence in teaching. And last month I talked of the great work that our teachers and support staff have put together within our plan to our continuation of learning plan and all the work that was provided there. This month, I want to really highlight the work of our administrative team. We just have such a hardworking, skilled administrative team, and I think a lot of their work goes unnoticed, and not necessarily by me, but people just don't necessarily know what are they doing during the summer months, what are they doing in preparation for the school year. And I just want to say this month to take a moment to recognize our administrative team. Really since March 13th, they've invested a massive amount of extra time and energy into providing a safe and positive environment for all our students and staff, not just during the closure in the spring, but as well as the return to learning plan here in the fall. Our entire team has assisted in the development of the learning plan, safety protocols, researching alternative options for families, and have made our return to learning option possible. I know, it's not possible everywhere, but it's been possible here. And a lot of that has to do with the work of our administrative team and many others as well. But tonight I'm highlighting the administrative team. Our administrators have been placed in countless no-win situations as they have pressed on to make very, very tough decisions. They've had to cancel so many wonderful events that create the tradition and culture of Bullock Creek School District. For 60 years, Bullock Creek School District has evolved slowly to become the district our families commit to and love. Within 6 short months, we've had to redevelop and change so much of what we value and love about Bullock Creek School District. None of this has been easy. I wish to publicly thank our district administrators for their courage and dedication to the Creek, and thank them for facing the adversity of these challenges over the last 6 months. I can't imagine a better team to serve with. Thank you to the Bullock Creek administrative team. As a community, I just want to encourage those that are viewing tonight and the board, when you see any of our principals or our directors, if you just take a little time to thank them, because they've really taken it on the chin these last 6 months and they're working really hard, and I can say thank you over and over, but you know, they probably get tired of that from me, and I'll continue to do it until they get really tired. But as much as the community can thank them too, I would appreciate that. So they're a wonderful group to serve with, and just remember, we're still down 2 administrators and still trying to carry all the load. So, and every one of them are taking on more responsibility, and I appreciate every one of them.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, great team. Moves us on to the next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. As a reminder to the board, this is an opportunity to see something on the agenda, that consent agenda, excuse me, that you would like to pull off and talk about separately. Now would be the time to do that. Mr. Hale, any comments on the consent agenda?
Yeah, we actually have a lot of movement in our personnel category, and I know I typically run through these. We have a new bus aide, Amanda Dixon. She actually started with us in the spring and just became, rather than a bus aide sub, she became a regular bus aide. And she did a phenomenal job helping us with our food deliveries and all of that work that we had in the summer. And she's decided to stay on, and so we're so glad to have her. We had a few resignations. We had a resignation from Michael Morris, a parapro at Floyd, one from Tiffany Sims at Bullock Creek Elementary, and then we have an additional bus aide, bus driver, 2 of them, Asia Pollard and Jackie Marcette, both were subs. Actually, Jackie was a sub. I think Asia was actually a sub aide and earned all of her certificates to become a bus driver. So that was really nice to see her step into that role. Glenna Hall has worked with us for several years, and she's decided to retire. She retired on September 1st, and she was a bus aide for so many years and did a wonderful job for us. This year, with all of our new COVID requirements, we hired Ken Keitel. Ken, it will be actually split between Pine River's afternoon shift. He'll work 4 hours there, and then at the middle school for 3.5 to 4 hours. And so he'll do a great job. But what that really did is it added staffing at 3 buildings by doing that one move. Pine River gets a little bit more in the morning they have a regular day custodian for a full 8 hours. And then the middle school had a person, our morning custodian would open the middle school, then go over to Pine River, open up, and then come back. He doesn't have to do that anymore. You can stay at the middle school now. And then BCL has a night custodian that would work 6 hours and then come over for 2 to the middle school, and she will finish her entire shift at BCL. Allows us more opportunities to clean those surfaces and just do a better job and not stretch our folks as thin. We still are looking for one additional custodian, which hopefully we can do before long. We can hire a person before long, and that person would then be split between the high school and Floyd, so we can lighten the load a little bit for each of those 2 groups too. We actually had a need for a new teacher, another teacher, Elizabeth Bloomer, 1st grade at Floyd. She comes to us with some experience. Her last position was at Coleman, and her daughter has attended for several years Floyd. I believe she's a 5th grader this year, and so it's really great for her to have an opportunity to teach in the same district where her child is, and Beth is doing a great job teaching 1st grade. We're excited to have her. Cheryl Johnson has been appointed, I guess, would be a good way to say it. Head cook at Floyd. She's great and works well with the staff out at Floyd, and they're so busy, like all the kitchens are. Just now the elementaries are delivering foods to the classroom. The kids don't come down to the cafeteria, so it's a lot more work, but they're staying on top of that. Leslie Noikos had been with us for several years and had left for a period of time, and she just came back to the high school kitchen. Kim Wheeler was a sub in the high school kitchen and has decided she would like to have regular hours, and we had those available with some moves. And then we had 3 resignations as paraprofessionals at Floyd. My apologies, actually 4. Dennis Dubay, Sean Jacobs, Elena Stevenson, and Melissa Gay did resign. Now, a couple of things happened there. Number one, our numbers are down at Floyd because we have many students have gone online. And so the need wasn't as strong, but in addition, these folks, for various reasons, were ready to move on or not come back. So the timing worked out for both them and for our need as well. And then the last one, I'm sad to say that, and I see she's online as well, but Angie Garver has worked with us for, I believe she said the other day, I want to say 25 years, but Angie, you could correct me if I'm wrong, if you can hear this, but 25 years for the Bullock Creek School District. Additional, she was employed somewhere else, I believe, but has done a phenomenal job working for us and has decided that she'd like to retire at the end of this calendar year, so December 31st. So congratulations to Angie. We're excited for the time we still have with you, and we look forward to hearing great stories when you retire. So that's all I have.
I'm going to ask a question that maybe I should have asked this morning, but question for you on the cafeteria. When they're delivering lunches to the classroom, how do they do that? Are they taking orders ahead of time, or does everybody get the same meal, or how does that work?
So it varies a bit, but they're delivering really kind of the same meals down there. Right now, we only have a cold lunch option, but as you may know, lunch is free to all students in the district now. It's a federal program which allows free meals for everybody. So even in the secondary or any of our non-Title I buildings, all students receive free lunch right now. So, but they do take orders and how many they need, because a lot of kids are bringing their own lunches too.
Sure.
From home. So.
Just curious.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments on the consent agenda? If not, need a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Moved by Turberg, supported by Dana. The Board of Education approved the consent agenda for the September 21, 2020 regular board meeting as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0.
All right, moving right along. We don't have any presentations tonight, so I see some students on there. They picked a good meeting to attend.
They sure did.
Because it's probably going to be a quick one, but so no presentations of the board. Board of Education report. The only thing I have is the updates from the ESA, which I think Mr. Hale has August.
Yep, I can start with August. And I'm just, the notes were actually taken by Coleman, so I'm just going to read through those. And I'll skip to the highlights anyway, but there was no treasurer's report due to the year-end closing process. Financial information was not available, but the ESA annual audit was going well. Stewardship committee indicated that there were 3 board positions available for the November ballot, and there were candidates for each position. The superintendent's report indicated that there were 5 resignations of ESA staff for the 2021 school year thus far. This was in August. They did not yet know the staffing needs for the year at that point because how many were going online and how many were face-to-face. Their opening day for staff was 8/25 on August 25th. The health department was the keynote speaker there, which ironically we had them come to speak with our staff as well. And so there's so much guidance from the health department, it made sense for them and for us to do the same. So key points of the return to school roadmap for the ESA. The ESA adapted their plan as needed to each school district's individual roadmap. And as you know, we had to submit ours to them. So they, each district, they had an opportunity to see those and then develop their roadmap based off what they were learning from each individual district. They were offering online and face-to-face learning for 2021 to date. So as of the date of that meeting, they had 40% online, 60% face-to-face. They were using the Canvas platform for online learning, which maybe you've heard of. I know Midland Public also is using that. They have about 12 families without internet access at that time, and they were still working on a plan for those families. And they had enough electronic devices for all students, and we're working on obtaining enough devices for adults, teachers, parapros, and paraprofessionals. And then their project search graduation was successful. They delayed that from June until the latter part of August, and something like that went really well. The ESA COVID-19 preparedness and response plan for 2021 was approved. I'd love to tell you who approves theirs. I don't know if it's the Michigan Department of Ed. That would be my guess, but I'm not 100% sure about that. They had a proposal for one-to-one technology device deployment to purchase additional iPads and Chromebooks for the Midland County ESA, and it was approved. That was a motion. They had a motion to table the superintendent's contract to next month, which Heidi may get into in a minute, with financial information from the treasurer, could be at a time when it could be presented by the treasurer. And there were no other topics for the board to consider at the meeting, and then they adjourned.
Heidi, you want to talk about September?
Yep, so they talked about, receiving grants to help pay for their iPads that they had purchased, and they had gotten a pretty substantial grant from, Strosacker, and also from the Midland County Youth Council for, their preschool scholarship, and that goes towards childcare, so they were thanking those different organizations for the funding. They talked a bit about their audit. They were at their financial audit, I believe. So they said it was 98% complete, and they kind of briefly talked about the Sugnet building and the funding needed for that. They were feeling pretty good about the 2021 finances. They made a comment about not being held harmless with year end, and expenses are a lot less than what they had anticipated for last year, and so they had pretty good results. They said during their October meeting they would talk about the proposal from Three Rivers on the Sugnet building. And basically it's later on, but that's about, I believe, $10 million is the cost that they're seeing for that. And so they talked about how they would they'll need to discuss how they're gonna actually fund that renovation. First week of school went smoothly, finance is looking good. Discussed extended COVID-19 plan and around ensuring, I didn't really understand some of their dialogue as to making sure they were hitting their legal requirements, but they discussed that. They had 10 paras resign, many citing concerns with COVID or staying home to take care of kids or elderly. And then once again, the 40% of students attending virtually, and so the less staff isn't an issue right now, but they'll need to get staff back when students are back, learning in person. There is going to be, and I haven't seen it, a Midland Daily News article showing how the paraprofessionals and the students actually the professionals and students are interacting in a safe way and being able to do the different interactions that they need to. And then they talked about the extended COVID-19 plan does not replace the learning plans, the roadmaps, etc. It's supposed to augment the other plans and getting ready to return to school, and that they were all due October 1st. And the ESA will select an appropriate benchmark assessment directly aligned to IEP goals. So they struggle, I think, a little bit with some of the self-assessments and showing progress from the fall to the spring, and how do you actually do that? So they had some conversations as to, do you just benchmark one student from the fall to the spring, or how do you do that? So they had a bit of kind of dialogue around that. They didn't talk about the superintendent's contract. They briefly touched on his goals, and it was really soft. So the comment was made, he's working through continuous improvement process, it's getting better, getting used to the tools. There must be a software program that's called MyKit, and so they're working on that. Looking at the funding proposal for the Signet site, that was the second goal. The third goal was better together, so trying to figure out how to get more of the information out to staff. And so they talked about doing fireside chats, video presentation on positive psychology and other different topics like that. And then the fourth goal, which was commented that it's been a goal for 4 years, so we need to get it done, is to get a new ESA dashboard. So the comment was made by I believe it's the President Gunderson, is you just need to get the dashboard and let the board evaluate it and then make changes as needed. So that was one that was, I would say they kind of said you need to get it done. So that was kind of the feedback there. But that was pretty much it. It was a pretty quick meeting.
First of all, thank you for attending. I want, for the public, I don't know that everyone understands why we are talking about the ESA meetings. So the Midland County ESA is an organization that a lot of our processes go through. They kind of control some of the financing for the entire county, and we actually get billing from them for some of our special ed processes that we do. So it's an important piece. We started probably, 2 years ago, Mr. Hale?
That's it, that's
That
right.
we felt it was important if we're going to be billed by them and be impacted by their decisions and their financial things that they do, we should have some input, or at least be listening to what they're doing and be able to report back. So between Coleman and Bullock Creek, we share that duty so that someone doesn't have to be there every month, and we kind of share our information. So I just wanted to share that with the public so you understand why we're talking about this. One question I had from Heidi's, and this may be more for Sean, is when they're talking funding of 10 million, does the ESA have the ability to do a bond issue?
No, they do not.
So they can't do a bond issue, they have to fund that either through donations or,
They have to fundraise or save that money up within
Okay.
their fund balance.
okay, got it. That'll be a big $10 million.
It will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did they say what they're doing to it? I mean, that's a lot of money.
No, that's October. You can go to that one.
We'll make sure- hey,
But I can't even guarantee it'll probably be pretty, yeah.
Yeah,
They don't give a lot of information at their board meeting.
that's one of them. If they really are going to talk about it, if you don't mind forwarding that to at least me, because if I'm able, I may attend as well. Even though I know Coleman's going, that might be an interesting
Yeah.
one. Listen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much they actually discuss. That-
Right.
They don't talk.
No.
They don't share as much information as we share at our board meeting.
Right.
Were they still working with Three Rivers, did you say on the?
They had a proposal back from Three Rivers.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
Which brings us to our next piece of that, is that October's covered by Coleman. So November would be our next one, if anyone has the ability or willingness to do that.
I could do November.
Okay, thanks, Renee. And then December would be Coleman again, so we won't have another one until January. So we can probably set that one up as we get closer.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll get you that date.
And anytime you guys want to attend, even if Coleman is doing it,
Yeah.
I know they're excited.
They're good times.
And I'm assuming it'll be virtual.
It was virtual.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was all virtual.
Does anyone else want to listen in on October's? I know I'm going to. Nelson mentioned he might. So if you could maybe just send it to all of us, and then you can, if you want to, great. If not, no big.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions on the ESA updates? Thank you guys for doing that, though. All right, now it takes us to our administrator report. Mr. Hale?
Yes, quickly, I'll just review where our current fall enrollment is. You know, it's hard this time of year normally to give you a solid number because count day really doesn't come up till the first Wednesday. It's really, in normal years, it's up and down, and this year it's more significantly down, and that's really, part of that's COVID, part of it's, you know, we're still counting our online students, but some have chosen because of, you know, some of our struggles with the online and getting things ironed out, have chosen to homeschool, and those are good choices for those families if that's a decision they made. And so I just, I want to be a little cautious about sharing this number. You know, last year we ended with our our combined count of 1863. Right now, we're at 1807. And so that number will fluctuate a little bit still yet before count day. We have a few more weeks, couple weeks yet, but it's also a little different this year in how they're going to calculate that because of COVID. It's my understanding that they're going to use 75% of last year's number and 25% of this year's number. There's also some potential language, and it's not in there in the language yet, but the legislature is working on language that would hold the flood region harmless. We would qualify under that. And so a lot of homes were destroyed and people misplaced because of the floods, and that really shouldn't take a financial hit on each of those individual districts. So that's yet to be ironed out, and that's not set in stone. I did have conversation with Senator Stamas and Representative Glenn about that last Friday. And, they couldn't give me a lot of details yet because it's not finalized, but once it is, that they wanted me to know that they were working on it. So hopefully that will come through for us.
Yeah.
The 2020 bond construction, I know the last several months I've updated you on things. We are fairly close to completion on most everything. We've got some fencing that still needs to be finished up. We have some windows and door replacements, exterior windows and door replacements at the middle school. Those are delayed essentially because with COVID, they didn't manufacture and they got behind. We had ordered early enough, but the doors just they weren't produced because the factories was down that we ordered from was down during that time. So they'll come in, but they'll have to work out a time either after hours, weekends, during breaks to change those out. So that'll take a little bit of time, but it could even happen as late as next summer, and that's fine if it does. The bottom line is we're replacing those, and we have that built into the bond. The fencing is an issue. There's a little bit to finish up at the sports facility and then around our bus garage. We've really been trying to get the fencing contractor back to finish up the project. And it's my understanding that they're so busy and they don't have a lot of workers that they've not been able to do that. We've tried to work with some other fencing contractors and they're really busy too. So it's just hard to get them here, but we'll get it done. It'll be nice when our full community can come out and look at all of the great work that's been completed. It's a little limited right now, especially with sports. Friday night, it was exciting to show it off, but we were only able to show it off to a limited crowd. So I want people to be proud of what they've invested in, and it looks really nice, and we'll all get to enjoy that soon. So really great work. We had 2 resignations for coaching positions. Jeff Kozak was a middle school boys basketball coach, did resign, and girls basketball coach, and Amy Lane as well. She's also a girls basketball coach. So both have decided to do other things, and so we're looking for 2 positions there. In our fall sports, pretty much all of this, but we have opted to return to play. One thing that I would want to say about that is we are speaking regularly with the health department. Poor Nicole Swanton from the health department. She gets calls from me all the time. I called her twice yesterday, and she's great at guiding us through situations and things that are going on and helping us to navigate this. And they keep us up to date on where COVID is and what kind of decisions we need to consider. And one of those would always be sports. If at any time we need to pull back from sports, and the health department says that, we would make the decision to back away. So I'm excited that the kids get to participate, and it went really well on Friday night, but and the volleyball games this week, of course, and then there was some at the middle school and cross country and soccer. They're all going fairly well, and I think things are pretty smooth. But it's week by week, and we'll do the best we can. I think the kids are really excited to play, and that's the main thing, that they get the opportunity. We had one other extended learning plan that we did have to develop, and our administrative team worked on that, most specifically Mr. Dishaw and Mrs. Bradford worked on that and helped us put that together. That's a learning plan that really details, our assessment of kids and the things that we're going to be doing with our online kids, and just making sure that there are some components in there that really were not detailed in our return to learning plan that the Michigan Department of Ed was expecting for us to finish up. So that last piece. So it'll be an additional item. We had those things in place. We just needed to detail it in the document. So I'll be sending that off to the ESA for approval. And then we have coming up, we need to really schedule a board tour at some point. That may look different than it has in past years, and the entry of buildings and what kind of things we do. We wouldn't be entering classrooms, but we would like to do something so that we can have you guys be able to see a lot of our bond work and how our systems are in place and those kind of things. And then also a board workshop coming up too. So I did send you a list of dates today, and if you want, we can either have you look at your calendars and respond back to me, or we can try to, does that sound like the better way to do that? I can send those out to you in an email again, and you can look at your calendars and see what might work best.
Yep, I saw that. I just
I didn't respond
didn't have time
to
today to do it.
Okay.
I don't think you have to resend it.
Yeah, I'll just detail those in an email, and then individually, if you want to let me know what works best, pick a couple dates from each one. That way I have some flexibility with what works for the majority, and then we can talk about what a board tour might look like. It may be, it may be a little more limited, but we'll at least get you out to see the buildings.
Might be good to do it after the students, if the concern is having us be in the buildings with the
That's, yeah,
students,
we
we
could
could do it
absolutely.
after hours too.
Okay.
That's
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Would you guys prefer to do that?
Yeah, I'm good either way. Obviously, if we're not going in the classroom, I'd be okay with us. It would be interesting to see that, and that's a great idea. My only thought was if we go during the day and we can at least peek in the windows, we can kind of see the setup with the students to see how they're separated, how they're.
That's true.
I mean, that was my only logic on it, but I'm good either way, honestly.
Okay. More discussion on that.
Yeah.
So, yep. Sounds good.
And I just wanted to say thank you to the admin that put that extended learning. I had the pleasure of reading through that and finished it today, and it's obviously very detailed and very well written, and
Yeah.
appreciate the efforts you guys put into it, so.
Well,
Anything else, Mr. Hamm?
that's
All wrapped up, huh?
Yeah.
Moving right along, that will take us to the action items as part of the agenda. The language used to construct this portion of the agenda is suggested wording only. Board members should feel free to modify the language as deemed appropriate and necessary. The language of record will be represented in the official Board of Education minutes, which is prepared after the meeting is conducted. Our first motion is to approve, which is great news, the sale of 2019-2020 trades house. So that would be our last one to sell.
Yep.
Until this next one's up, which is
Right.
great, because we had two a couple months ago.
We did.
So this is great news, and sold for a great price, it looks like, too. So
Yep. That's the highest we've sold a trades house for, and
it's excellent.
Great.
yep,
That's a nice
and
house.
that helps, reimburse us for the lot that we purchased there. Actually, probably covers that lot and the lot the year prior, because we were a little closer on our sale last year.
Good.
Yep, and reimburse us for all our materials, and it's always a blessing when we come out pretty close to even, because it's a great program and it's great for our kids, and a lot of our kids go from that program into a trade related to construction in some form or another. And when we can get the reimbursement back for the lot and cost neutral, or even have a little bit left over for the next year's house, that's even better.
So it's not meant to be a profit center, right?
Right, it's not.
But it's great when
It's not why we do it.
Buy the next piece of land in
Yeah.
there, so.
So it's just nice.
Absolutely. Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
Any questions, comments on that motion?
What was it listed at?
365, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we
That's good.
negotiated a little bit with them, and I think that price was fair for them and fair for us
Great
too.
price.
That's good.
Anything else? Not need a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Moved by Franson, supported by Walde. The Board of Education approved the sale of 2019-20 building trades house located at 921 South Crooked Tree Lane for $352,500. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried 6-0.
Next motion is to a request for Mrs. Hofer, the high school teacher, for a one-year leave of absence. Any comments, Mr. Hill?
Yeah, I just, I want to thank Nancy for all her hard work and preparing for this year. And she actually helped us set up the opportunity for someone to actually fill in that role for her. And she's requesting a year's leave of absence, and I recommend approval.
Any comments or questions?
Is it a long-term sub then that's taking that role?
It's actually our first ACR candidate. It's an accelerated program through Saginaw Valley. It's,
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so you may have heard of that type of program, but basically it's a student who has graduated from college with a degree other than teaching degree.
Right.
They've decided that they want to become a teacher, so they've come back and they've taken their methods courses, and then they have a year-long student teaching placement. And during that time, they're essentially paid as a long-term sub for the position, but they have a certificate, they've taken the certification test, and they have a certification in that field. So that's a certified
Okay.
Spanish teacher, but she's in English language arts. I think, I'm not sure about that, what Nancy's schedule was. If English was included in that. Some years she teaches some English, some Spanish. So I don't want to confuse
Right.
matters to say exactly what her schedule was, but this teacher is going to be teaching in those classes, and it was an excellent fit. I know
Yeah.
Mrs. Hofer knew this candidate, and we had an opportunity to interview the candidate, and she's doing a great job so far.
Oh,
So we're very
that
pleased.
worked out well.
Yep.
Yes. Need a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Supported, or moved by Trevor, supported by Dana. The Board of Education approved the request from Nancy Hofer, high school teacher, for a one-year leave of absence. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 6-0.
Next motion is to approve a two-year service provider agreement with ETC. Want to touch on that one, Mr. Hill?
Yep, this is a regular thing that we need to do, obviously every 2 years. And so it's a part of our adult ed program. And so it's really one of the requirements for all of the paperwork that Mrs. Pierce needs to submit. And so it needs to be approved at the board level. I recommend approval there. It's
Any questions, comments?
It's a program that actually operates in Midland County, Saginaw County, Clare, and Gladwin counties, and we're the fiscal agent for all four.
Yeah, it was, when you say that, but it's really big, right? Because it's not one little spot in Saginaw or Gladwin, it's
Right.
many touch points.
It is.
Yeah,
They serve a lot of people.
they do serve a lot of people.
They
Yeah.
do. A lot of impact there.
Yep,
And I know Julie spends a lot of her time completing paperwork and the budgets and the calendars and
That's the piece we just took over last year, right? From
we,
The Saginaw part.
The Saginaw piece of it.
yeah, the Saginaw was the year prior. Last year was Clare and Gladwin.
Okay.
So it's,
I had it reversed.
yep, it seems like her workload doubles almost every year. And that, for that piece.
Right. Any other questions or comments? Need a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Walde, supported by Turnberg. The Board of Education approved the two-year service provider agreement with Education and Training Connection, ETC. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 6-0.
The last action item would be to approve the adult education calendar, tying to that same process. Basically, an annual thing we have to do is just to approve their calendar like we approve our school calendar as well. Any questions or comments on that?
And you'll notice there's a different calendar for each program. So,
Yeah, lots of calendars.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
I should say calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does say calendar.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments on that one? If not, need a motion?
So moved?
Support.
Moved by Dana, supported by Waldy. The Board of Education approved the 2020-2021 adult education calendars. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carried, 6-0.
Okay, brings us to our wrapping up our public comments. Going to open it up to our public, our guests on the call, or on virtual, I should say. Any kind of public comments up there? Don't forget to take yourself off the mute. Quiet group here. All right, we'll move around to roundtable. We'll start with Heidi.
I'm just really glad that, in-person school has started. Just didn't really understand the emotional impact for students and being able to have those connections. And so you don't realize it until you're like, this is all we see, these 5 people. And how important it is, even if it's a quiet individual, that they get that interaction and get to interact with other positive role models and peers. And so I'm just really glad that we're back in person, and I'm hopefully, I hear good things. Students are wearing the masks, they're cleaning their desks, they're doing what they need to do, because I think they all started the school year, they all want to be there. They all want to be able to participate in the extracurricular activities and do different things. So
Yep.
I think they're willing to do what they need to do, or at least that's what I'm hearing from
Yep.
my
That's-
daughter.
That's very accurate. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing a great job.
That's great. Great point.
I'll just piggyback on that and say thank you to all the staff, because obviously you're setting a great tone. I'm not hearing any complaints from kids. They say the COVID adjustments are no big deal. They're just kind of gotten used to it, and all the kids I talked to are glad to be back in school, and most of them wouldn't say that on a typical year.
Yes, right.
So thank you to the staff.
No, and I just, yeah, I'll echo that. The administrators, the teachers that I talk to just say how well it's going, how good it's going. So it's so good to hear that. So, yeah.
Same thing, I just want to thank all of the team for doing a great job getting us all back to school, all the work that went in behind the scenes, and that's the admin team, the teachers, the parapros, the custodians, the bus drivers, everybody that's food service, everybody that's working, that worked so hard to get us back and are now working even harder to keep us there.
Yeah.
I also want to say that the kids, I feel like my kids at least, they'll do whatever it takes to stay. They don't like homeschool. So, but anyways, they're enjoying their time. In the community, I wanted to say that our community is doing a great job too, like at all of the extra events. I know some people have a different opinion, but everybody's coming together for our kids, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. I'm not sure what to add to that. That was really well said, but yeah, I agree. Everything I've heard has been positive, and from the staff to the teachers to the students to I know the custodial staff are working their butts off trying to keep things, keep things clean. But everything I hear has been great, and that's just an amazing testament to where we were sitting 4 weeks ago. Going, uh-oh, is this gonna work? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. So thanks to everybody that's made it happen.
It reminds me a little of graduations, right? It's like graduation went off like that's the way we've always done it, and it's kind of like classroom. And I've not been able to witness it from what I've heard, and my kids don't attend anymore, so I don't get to hear it even from them. But from what I've heard from others, it's like this is the way we've always done it. It's just process everything. There may be some grumbling. There may be people who hate the mask or don't want to wipe their dust, but they do it and they just move on. I think if anything, what we built is we built students that are going to be really, really resilient. Because they've had to learn how to be resilient. And my daughter is still sitting at home in class, hating the fact that it's the same 3 people in their house, because she would rather be home with her college cohorts. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's so amazing to get the kids back on campus, the ones that we feel comfortable doing that, and playing sports and playing in band and being able to do these other things and basically interacting with other students. Because I think that's huge for the mental well-being of our students as well. So I think that's huge. But again, that doesn't come without a lot of work.
Yeah.
Not just from our admin team, but from our teaching staff, our maintenance staff, the facilities people, all of that ties into how well that went off. And I thank you guys for doing that.
And quite a bit of faith, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because
No one knew what we were getting into.
we didn't know what, and it was
And we
like,
still don't.
we're still waiting for, you're kind of waiting for that shoe to drop, and it hasn't. And so, I mean, a lot of uncertainty, but it was a level of, okay, I'm gonna trust the process and having that faith, I think really,
I feel like
really
too,
helped.
everybody's doing their part.
Yeah.
Everybody's making sure that their own children are going in safe, and
Yeah.
everybody's doing what they need to do. I just faith and trust in each other.
Yeah.
Kind of good.
And now I'm gonna give you homework.
Oh.
So, and it's not something we really need to vote on, but I'd love your opinion on it. We have a list of 7 or 8 Lancer Leader Awards that were nominated prior to us going into virtual.
Yeah.
And those have been waiting around since March and April, I guess, basically.
wow.
So Sean and I were talking today. We're trying to figure out do we really keep waiting for months and months and months to recognize these people, or do we find a way to do it virtually? Can't have them in the building, obviously, but do we do it virtually, invite them onto the virtual call, and then Sean can personally deliver them? Do we just wait till we can try to do it in person? I mean, I love your opinion, and if you've got ideas now, great. I would love to get back to, we have and it ties to what we were just talking about, right? There's so many people that had great impact on our students, building those relationships, keeping them.
I think we should, if we're gonna continue virtually, we gotta figure out how to incorporate that into the agenda and just work through it. And if there's people that don't know how or cannot, meet,
Or
then maybe that's just a phone call and it's a highlight during this
recognizing
meeting.
here, and right. I
Yeah,
mean, what is the logistic count? Is it just 4 that could be, or could we have one more person in this room? Or 2 more? They couldn't bring their whole family
Yeah.
to watch, but,
Let me verify that, for a public meeting,
right.
you know,
It'd
because
be interesting to see if that's, and if not,
I don't want to misspeak on the number. I've
Yeah.
heard
I'd rather see
10,
the
but
research.
I would want to confirm that.
Yep.
Yeah.
so it's just something that I think it's time for us to kind of get back into that, because there's so many people that we could be recognizing right now.
Yeah,
For
I
the
think that's
efforts that they're
important.
putting out there, yeah, and beyond the fact that we've had these people on the waiting list and the holding pattern for about 6 months, 8 months now, so.
Yeah.
Is there any way to do it even outside?
yeah, I was just thinking that too.
Like
Do
if
you
we did
do
it
like a
outside?
Lancer leader night?
Do like a
Prior
preliminary,
to,
prior to the board meeting, just do a Lancer Leader recognition.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's part of it.
drive
Catch
down,
'em up, yeah.
kind of like graduation.
Yeah, do it in October before it gets any
Yeah.
colder.
I say we do that next meeting.
Yeah, I think,
We could do
You-
8 of them
this
next month
week.
before it gets any
you
colder.
got
That
this
way we
week
could
and
have
then-
that personal touch too.
That's the part that you miss if you do that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's like anything else virtually, you lose that personal. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thought, because
we could have their nominee stay on virtual, or if we go outside, we can do it outside.
If we do it outside, I mean, that's actually, you know, if you start the next board meeting
But outside,
outside and have Lancer leader night,
and we come inside and do virtual
and
after.
then we could come inside. and do it.
Could we figure out how to
That's a
do,
nice idea.
So like
can we
a 6
do
o'clock.
somehow get it on camera outside as well? That'd be a lot of work for Jeremy. Jeremy, stop listening.
Well, just,
I think you could, I mean, any one of us could,
you could
Just
just,
log in on a phone.
yeah, log in on a phone to the
Oh,
Google
yeah.
Meet and,
No, it's true.
there's, internet outside, you could just,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean-
Well, if we did that outdoor option, they could bring their families and their families could hear it, and then we could get a picture with them with their Lancer Leader Award, maybe post that on our website
Yeah.
That's true.
afterwards, so the community gets to see their award. And
Versus doing the whole thing virtually.
yes, that portion, and then come in here and do the portion, the
We
virtual
can
meeting.
announce it virtually on the call, talk
Yeah.
about who was recognized tonight versus, okay. Just, if you guys are all supportive of that, if we were just kind of, I know that there's a long list, and when he shot me the list of people, it was more, it's a big list of people, so.
Do you want to try to do all 6?
I mean, we could do it in less
Sure.
than a half hour probably, right?
yeah.
because I'm sure there's more to come.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll do a 6:15 start.
Perfect. Are you guys open to that for next month, starting a little early?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So what that does to the public and to the rest of the board is it opens up, that we're ready for nominations again. Probably not for,
Yeah,
probably not for October, because we'll have a full house for October.
But we'll be ready for November then.
But November, we're gonna want some more nominations, yes, so. Oh, somebody's having a good time up there. But, so yes, for the public, let's, start thinking about those names. I think in the last 6 months, we've had a lot of people that probably deserve a Lancer Leader Award.
Yeah.
And it's probably time to start recognizing some of the people that got us through some of those tough times, so.
Great idea.
So we'll catch us up next month at 6:15.
As long as all of those can attend, and if they can't, we'll take it to the
Get
next
them
one.
to the next
Yep, we can do that.
Because there may be some that can't come.
Sure.
So,
Love it.
I'm in contact with them and we'll get a schedule.
perfect. And that's all I've got. So the meeting adjourned at 7:54.
All right,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.